My grandma always told me to leave one bite on my plate. I finally know why. Growing up, my grandmother had one strict rule at the dinner table: always leave one bite on your plate. It didn't matter if it was rice, soup, or even a single piece of bread, no meal was ever to be finished completely. I asked her why once, when I was about 8. She just shook her head, her wrinkled fingers tightening around her spoon. "You must always leave something behind, or he'll think you're inviting him in." I pressed her for more, but she refused to explain. The way her voice wavered, the way her eyes darted toward the darkened windows of our small home, it was enough to shut me up. I assumed he was just some folklore monster, like the Aswang or Manananggal, something made up to scare kids into obedience. But even my parents obeyed the rule. My father, who never believed in ghost stories, always made sure to leave one last bite. So I obeyed too. That was years ago. I live alone now, in a small apartment in the city, far from the quiet countryside where I grew up. Life gets busy. Old habits fade. Last week, I had a long day at work and came home exhausted. I microwaved some leftover chicken and rice, then plopped onto my couch to eat in front of the TV. I was so distracted that I didn't even realize I had cleared my plate. At that moment, something shifted. It was subtle, just a strange, crawling sensation down my spine. Not fear exactly, but wrongness. Like an unseen weight pressing against my shoulders. I laughed at myself. I was being ridiculous. I put my plate in the sink, brushed my teeth, and went to bed. 3:12 a.m. A sound woke me, soft at first, then growing louder. Silverware clinking against porcelain. My stomach tightened. My apartment was silent otherwise. The sound was coming from the kitchen. My breath hitched as I sat up. I told myself it was nothing, the sink settling, my mind playing tricks. But something deep inside me knew better. I climbed out of bed, stepping carefully over the creaky floorboards. The apartment was cold, much colder than it should have been. I reached the kitchen doorway and peered inside. The air left my lungs. My plate was on the counter. The same one I had emptied hours ago. And sitting in the very center was a single bite of food. I hadn't put it there. A chill ran down my spine. I turned to check the front door, but it was still locked. The windows, too. My apartment was empty.